have Cold Beer Conversations number 3 with
Josh Pruno.
Hello. Thank you again for doing this kind of spare of the moment.
No, absolutely.
So, Josh here is, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you originally from?
I am from Crystal City, Missouri.
Okay.
Born and raised. Very proud of that. Lived here right up until I was around 21, 22.
Okay.
Before moving to Nashville back in 2002.
Awesome. So we're in Festus right now doing the interview. So this is kind of close to your hometown.
Absolutely.
Festus and Crystal City are like
Twin Cities.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1 and 1. So how did you get down to Nashville?
You know what? It was just one of those things where growing up in a small town, growing up period, I thought I would play baseball for the rest of my life. My dad was a college baseball coach. I grew up playing baseball and thought that's what I'm going to do, and nothing else mattered to me. Unfortunately, that included school. I was terrible at it. Went to college, got injured, and it was at that time that I picked up a guitar and started singing and found, man, I love this. Not to mention it was a great way to pick up girls.
Yeah.
And try and impress them. So it never hurt. And the more I got into that and started really doing that, the more my love for baseball kind of shifted into that creative side of playing music. And it was just another outlet for me, and just fell in love with it. And it became something I couldn't shake. And it just took over to where I couldn't get enough. I was playing.
It's like the addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, I've heard my dad mention baseball in a sense where if it was his drug, he would put it in a needle and shoot it in his veins. Baseball. For me, I feel that way about music.
Yeah.
Every aspect of it. The playing, the singing, the writing, the being in the studio, creating. It's just a creative outlet. I love it. I couldn't shake it.
Awesome. So was the guitar the first instrument you ever played, or have you dabbled with other instruments?
It was. Well, actually, I was a pretty good saxophone player for a semester in 6th grade, and then for some reason they shifted me to percussion, and I played drums for 7th and 8th, and actually my freshman year I did the snare drum in the marching band.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I don't know. They didn't ask me to come back my sophomore year for some reason, and I picked up a guitar, just started strumming on that thing, and that's kind of where I've been ever since.
Awesome. So, I want to learn a little bit about you and your family. So, tell me about, are you married? Do you have kids?
I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful woman. I met her at Jefferson College out here while I was playing baseball. She sat right next to me and had no idea who I was or wanted anything to do with me. So I chased her, and after months and months of begging her and having friends tell her how cool I was, she finally gave in and gave me a date, and I have been chasing her ever since. I absolutely adore her. We got married. We got married November 2nd, 2002. I was telling you earlier, my baseball number was number 2. That's my thing. We got married on a Saturday, moved to Nashville the very next day. We've been together ever since. And
awesome.
She is just a wonderful person. She's my best friend. She homeschools all 3 of my boys. I have 3 sweet, sweet boys. JJ, who was 11, Sammy, who was 9, and our baby Levi, who just turned 5 on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we
so
got a
you're
big
busy
family.
dad too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So when did you move to Nashville?
So we moved to Nashville in 2002.
2002, you said.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We moved to town. I had a little development deal, and of course, when you play music around here and you move to Nashville, well, when you play around here and you develop kind of a following and you're playing to really good crowds and you're having a great time with it, there's no reason you can't take that to Nashville.
Yeah.
So when we had the development deal, we just assumed that's what was going to happen. We were going to take over that town. We had what we needed. We had a little record deal, and we got some songs in the pocket. We're going to release these. We're going to start touring the world. And then you get down there and it's like, hello, real world. It just doesn't work that way. And so we kicked around for a few years, and after getting released from that label, it was like, oh crap, what do we do? Mm-hmm. And so again, we just kind of hung around. Actually moved back to Missouri about 3.5 years into it, and was back here. We moved back here, and I started playing music again. My dad, my brother, all of my relatives play music.
So your name is a pretty common name around.
Oh, absolutely. My dad was one of 14 kids.
Okay.
So yeah, you imagine in a small town like this. I mean. Yeah.
And they're all from around this area?
They are.
Okay. Well, then that makes sense why I've heard your name so much.
Right.
Last name so much.
Yeah, so it's a big family. So we were back here for a few years. Then an opportunity came to work with some people back in Nashville. And my poor wife, we had just had our 2nd son. And, to her credit, I give her all the credit in the world. She looked at me. We actually drove back to Nashville, and they laid out this grand idea of what they wanted to do. And we got in the car that night, and she said, I know you, and if we don't do this, you're always going to wonder what if. And so she did, man. She hitched her wagon to the streamer, and to her credit, she keeps riding along. We moved back, and now we've got our roots planted there. We got our church family there. Our kids are involved in sports and activities. It's just home for us now.
Yeah. Having a strong support system is really important,
Absolutely.
especially when you move a lot. So you talked about church, and what do you kind of do in your free time? I guess when you're not writing music and when
Right.
you're not playing dad,
Right.
what do you do?
Well,
Dad probably takes up majority
it
of your
does.
free time.
My older son is really into baseball, and he's got some talent there. And so I help coach his travel baseball team. My middle son is really into hockey, so he's doing hockey and ice skating and doing his thing, playing hockey. And then, of course, that leaves our 5-year-old who's really into John Cena and doing WWE moves on everybody. So we're not sure what he's going to get into yet, but between those three, a couple dogs, a cat.
Sounds like
we're
a fun
busy.
household.
Yeah, it's a zoo, man.
So you talked about a record deal a little bit. So do you have an album, or do you released a full album released?
Well, that's the thing. We've cut a couple albums back when Nashville was cutting albums and could afford to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
We never officially released one. Now, individually, we would go out, and anytime we would play a show, we had physical copies to sell, but we never went through distribution. Now, digital-wise, obviously, it's a lot easier to do that, and there were singles released. You can find some of our stuff on iTunes, and that's through Lawrence Music Group, the last company we worked with. They've got some stuff still up, but again, we've never actually officially released a full album, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, through distribution, it's just digital-wise.
Okay. So do you write a lot of your own
I
music?
do.
Okay.
I do. I write a lot, but here's the thing. When I got to town, like I told you earlier, I'm just a fan of music, every aspect of it. So I grew up, I still to this day, I buy CDs. I know iTunes is a craze and MP3s and MP4s, whatever, but I like to have that physical copy. And part of the reason is that little insert that comes in there.
Uh-huh.
I pull it out, and I love seeing who wrote the songs that I like and see who got cuts, because now I know a lot of the guys in town, and so I like to see who got a record cut.
Yeah. Actual records are starting to make a comeback too.
Yeah, vinyl is huge,
vinyl
man.
is-
It used to be a trendy indie thing, and now it's gone. Now it's the big thing to do.
There's large name artists that are releasing,
Absolutely.
re-releasing albums on vinyl, which I think is totally cool. It adds a bit of nostalgia to it.
It really does.
It's a collector's item as well as, a piece of
Right.
their music.
And,
So
and that's one of the things that we're kind of hoping, living in that town, you kind of hope that some of it swings back to the old school way of doing things, back to the songwriting thing. My philosophy has always been the best song wins. So even on the last record, we cut 12 songs for the last record we made with Tracy Lawrence and Lawrence Music Group. I went in and I had 8, 9, 10 songs that I was going to put on that record. But when we started listening and accepting tunes for the record, better songs were coming in. And so I always felt like, you know what, the best song wins. I don't care if I wrote it or not. And there's some guys in that town that I'm afraid that town is forgotten about, because they're not singers, they're not performers, they're songwriters, and they're great at what they do. But unfortunately, sometimes Nashville has a tendency to, if the artist or the performer doesn't have their name attached to that song, or they didn't write it, they're not going to cut it. And so there's this stockpile of great songs just sitting there waiting for somebody to cut, and I jump at the chance if I get
it's
a song
almost like a
that.
prideful thing. Like
It
people
really
don't
is.
want to
It's unfortunate because
sing
these
somebody
guys,
else's stuff.
guys like Joe Doyle, Bobby Boyd, Sam Mullins. I mean, I could go on. They're just sitting on a trove of songs that I feel like, man, if somebody would just get the chance to give these songs of the light of day, I mean, I really feel like they could really do something.
That's good. So let's hit a little bit about where do you perform down in Nashville, and then like if somebody wanted to come see you and wanted to follow you, and do you play with a full band, or do you typically do acoustic?
Well, we do both. We depending on what type of venue it is, what kind of showcase event, or if it's a full band concert event. If we're opening up for somebody, if we're going to be headlining a fair show, whatever it is. Obviously, they can go through booking through any of our social media status. We have people that answer all that. But yeah, we have a full band. I've been fortunate to surround myself with a lot better musicians than I am, and that's part of it too. I've always felt like growing up. I keep coming back to this baseball theme, but in life in general, I think if you're the best in your circle, I just feel like you're not getting challenged. And so what I've always tried to do is, we'll introduce some of the guys in my band I've got with me today. They're better musicians than me, which forces me to raise my game, and I have to step up to their level, or I don't. So it's just one of those things that I've been blessed to have some really cool guys that I haven't run off yet, and they keep coming around, so we're doing something right.
We We'd like to thank our sponsor, Vassar Brothers Brewing Company. They're located in High Ridge, Missouri, which is relatively close to where we are. It's not too far, but they have been very giving and sponsored our 3rd round and have agreed to sponsor our 4th round as well. So we have a lot more interviews coming up, a lot more rounds, so stay tuned. So what do you think of beer?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of theirs already. I kind of heard the backstory. I'm a big fan of Dreamers. I believe in what they're doing. They got the visuals great.
Yeah,
Tastes great.
they
More
started,
it's great.
I mean, it's completely grassroots. It's just,
I love that.
yeah, dad and his son, and then I think his brothers have started
Amen.
as well, so.
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
behind it 100%.
So,
Thank
check
you
them
very
out.
much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Great.
We have Josh and
The Hired Guns, 2 members, 2 of the most important
Two
members.
of the hired guns.
2 of the Hired Guns. This right here is Drew Shire, plays drums, percussion, just keeps that beat going for us in the back. Proud to have him. And my dear friend Mr. Michael Blakemore, guitar extraordinaire, plays a little acoustic, sings background vocals, killer songwriter, just all around great musician.
So, what was your first name?
Drew.
Drew.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Drew, they were telling me a little bit. I was saying, I think Nashville's one of those cities that people kind of transplant to. I feel like people go there and never go home.
True,
And
yeah.
so, but you,
I get to go home all the time
Yeah.
because Nashville is home.
there
yeah.
you go. So,
I'm in Nashville.
you are the unique one to the
Yeah.
situation where you grew up there.
I did. Well, right outside
Okay.
of the city. So,
Okay.
But yeah, I call it home.
So, how long have you been playing music?
Professionally, about 8 years now.
8 years. Okay. So, was country your first genre that you jumped into?
I actually started out in like Southern gospel and Christian
Okay.
music, and then from there got into country. And
Okay.
I've done some pop and rock as well.
And you play the drums.
Yes.
So, have
Yeah.
you always played the drums?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So
Or
you
pots
kind
and pans,
yeah,
whatever,
pots and
whatever I
pans.
could hit, you know.
So you hooked onto it and loved it right away.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
very much
And
so.
your first name?
I'm Michael.
Michael. And what do you play?
I play guitar.
Guitar. Have you always played guitar?
No.
No. What
No.
else do you play?
Piano and drums,
Piano.
bass.
There you go. So you guys, between you 3, you could have like a whole 6-piece band.
Yeah.
There you go. So do you guys play outside of the band at all?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So do you play? Are either one of you singers, songwriters, or?
Let's get right here.
Oh, you are as
Yeah.
well. Okay. So if we were to try to find some of your music, where would we find your
BlakemoreMusic.com
Blakemore music? Okay. Awesome.
or
Okay.
at either or.
Okay.
All right, this is a song I wrote with my buddies, Flip Anderson, Rick Huckabee. It's called Another Life. And I'm going to play it exactly like the record goes. Something close to it. I come here every day, order the same old thing, put on my poker face, pretend you don't wear that ring, and I ain't with someone too. That's just the way that it goes, so I just pay my tab, say my goodbyes and go home. 'Cause there's a place where the moon shines down just for us, an ocean breeze whispering, shooting stars we can touch, getting lost in each other. Girl, you ought to see us in another life. You wear that crazy smile, I try so hard not to